It's 4 o'clock on Tuesday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. I was going to tell you where we're coming from, live from, and then I thought, no, I'm going to keep the location secret. Yeah! And thank you, fake audience. And thank you, fake band. And let's make sure we're actually on the air. Yes, we are. I see people. Whoops, hang on. I got to solve a cable problem here. Okay. Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Let's see who's in the room today. Bob Gunnerfeld, Akira Canyon, Martin Gravel, Rick Cabot Podmore, Nancy Collell, Cass McKenty, Darren Moss, Greg Carroza, Andre Stepanian, Wind Chimes, Ian Shortle, Dan Weber, Darren Fletcher. That's pretty much everybody, right? Where's John Pearson? I don't think he was on the show yesterday. Hello, Mark Reel, Peter Rahill, Patrick Adams. I don't think I saw Pearson in the room yesterday or even the day before. How dare he not show up? Anyway, yep, the usual suspects. Hello, Jesse. So, Ronald Schultz, someone check on JP. I know he's got a wife and kids, so if anything terrible happened to him, they would know that. He's probably working on a project, is my guess. He was here a few days ago, and I thought he wasn't in the room. He said, no, I'm here. So you liked Robin yesterday, right? Yeah, just when I think maybe she's exhausted that incredibly deep well of information that she always seems to stick the bucket in. I mean, there was so much new information in yesterday's show. She's just awesome. Frankly, I don't know when she finds the time to do all that research that she does. But she does. And she spits it out, It's like, I wish my memory was that good. Yeah, anyway. And I didn't realize, actually, until I watched the show, or until I was actually hosting the show yesterday, I'm depressed. I didn't know she was going to open up with that, You're depressed whether you realize it or not. Hello, Lou Lewis. And Spiritual. Whew, my chat wouldn't load up. Well, now it did. There you are. Oh, Nancy, you like my flower arrangement? There are no flowers to be had. The grocery store flowers were just awful. The gladiolas are all like dying outside. Hello, Trev. And so I thought, well, I could leave an empty vase there, but it felt like the wall was a little empty. So I pulled Wilson off a chair and put him up there. I barely talk to Wilson anymore now that my wife has been back for a month. But I wanted him to feel like part of the gang. Anyway, Darren, in America, men don't call these a top. We call them a shirt. Ladies call their outerwear on the top half of their body a top. Just saying. I don't know what you guys call it in New Zealand, but we call it a shirt. Yeah, a t-shirt. This is my taxi orange. This is when I get out and direct the cars around, Where's Wilson's mask? I should have put one on him. I don't have one sitting around. I think they're all in my car. I don't remember if I showed you guys or not, but when my wife was out of town, I took one of the kids when they were little. They, of course, being girls, did a lot of dress-up stuff, and they had some wigs, like Disney character wigs. So I put a wig on Wilson, and I don't think I showed that one to you, but one night I was video chatting with my wife, and I showed her, I said, look, honey, it's like you're still here. And I turned the camera around and showed her Wilson with the wig. She didn't think it was as funny as I did. She doesn't think a lot of the stuff that I think is funny is funny. It'd be called a jumper in Australia since it's long sleeved. Interesting. Well, in America, a jumper is normally a very basic dress that women wear. It's kind of not very form fitting necessarily, has a couple little straps. I only know this stuff because I grew up in a family owned, a small farm town department store. Edmund Red, hello. Wow, Edmund's been drinking coffee today. Hello, Michael. Hello, everyone. What an amazing episode yesterday with Robin. Such an amazing person. Yes, she is. Yeah, and then that's right. Jumpers are those little things those little springy things you put your like 11-month-old kid in. And then go over there. You're bothering me. I'm watching TV. Leave me alone. Oh man, I haven't been watching Orange is the New Black. We actually had several members that got music in that show, but I don't think I've ever watched an entire episode. Um, Andre, the white ball with the face painted on it. Remember the Tom Hanks movie Castaway? And he found his plane wrecked somewhere out in the South Pacific, I think, and he worked for FedEx, and he was on a FedEx cargo plane that went down, and some cargo washed up on the beach where he was stranded for a couple of years, I think. Anyway, and inside was a volleyball. And so he actually, at some point, cut his hand, and he put his hand on the ball, and it made kind of a face, and he painted the eyes and the mouth on it, and he named it Wilson after the brand name of the volleyball. And Wilson was his best friend while he was stuck on the island. So that's my friend Wilson right there. Um, if you ain't in Denver, you don't know Orange. That's true, but you could say that for what was the name? I can't think of it now. Um, Boise State. I can't remember the name of the team from Boise State, but I think their colors are orange and blue. Um, it's a relative of Mr. Wilson. That's right. Um, so anyway, I am trying to get rid of a headache today. I've got a lot of Advil in me. Um, and it's not as gone as I'd like it to be. You know, when you get rid of like 70% of a headache and that 30% hangs on, and it makes you feel like if you bend over too quickly or turn your head too quickly or say something too loudly, the headache's going to come back in full force. That's what I feel like right now. Yeah, that's right. Matt Vanderboe is a huge Boise State fan. As a matter of fact, when I was at his house to do that episode of Taxi TV, he sent me back with a Boise State beer cozy. I just saw. I was at the office yesterday prior to the show with Robin. We were supposed to move back to the office yesterday, but then I pushed it back a week because I wanted all the staff members to get COVID tests so that everybody could feel comfortable that, at least at that snapshot in time, that everybody was COVID free. And I mean, we had plenty of space. Social distancing would not have been a problem. And about, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon or so, somewhere around there, one of the staff members posted on our group chat on WhatsApp that our lovely governor reimposed some of the lockdown stuff, like no more haircuts. I just put on my makeup, so I'm a little sneezy from the powder. No rabbits yet today. Anyway, yeah, no more haircuts, no more movie theaters. I didn't even know movie theaters had opened, frankly. Um, no haircuts, no movie theaters. Let's see, no nail salons, no more in-restaurant dining. Sorry, I feel a sneeze coming on. Peter Rahill says, "Welcome to California." Yeah. Yep. Anyway, let's see, what else can't we? Anyway, unless your office is considered, a necessity or whatever they call it, like law offices. I don't understand why law offices get to remain open. You mean lawyers can't work on laptops from home? Um, I think they're reclosing bars. Yeah. Honestly, I don't want to get political on the show, but the death rate's going down. The number of cases are going way up of infections, but that's because so many people are getting tested. I went on Saturday, I think, and huge lines. You spend an hour, hour and a half, and they're testing places all over the place. So I think I want to say that on Saturday or Sunday, 750,000 people in America were tested. And that's going on every day. So, of course, the incidence of people, of cases, going to go up because people are getting tested. So, there you go. But the death rate is still going down. Now, did people abuse by going to bars and not wearing masks? Young people, damn it. It's those kids that did it, not wearing masks. And, you get drunk and the music's playing and you get spittle all over each other and you walk out with a case of COVID. Used to walk out of a bar. Well, never mind. Anyway, what other stuff can I tell you about the COVID, as we call it around the Lasco household? My wife said, why do you call it the COVID? And I said, do you say I have the flu? Yes. Okay, well, then we don't have the COVID. Got it? She doesn't think I'm funny. Wow, in New Mexico, 5 to 7 hour wait for a test. I think I was in and out in an hour and 15 minutes and got the results in less than 48 hours. I got to say, they were organized. It was impressive. You guys call it the Rona. Yeah, and now they're not going to have school in the fall. And it's, I don't know. How's the test done? You get a little swab thing, just a little bit shorter than a regular Q-tip with a little fuzzy thing on just one end. A nice lady, actually, she was very good at what she did. She had on the plastic mask and the cloth mask, the shield and the mask and the rubber gloves and the hazmat suit, I think. And she hands you a Ziploc baggie thing, kind of, and it's got your barcode, your personal barcode on there. First, you drive up and you show them your cell phone that says, I think it's got your name on it. It certainly has your barcode on it. And it's got your number on it, like your reservation number for the test. And inside is a little vial with maybe, I don't know, less than a ½ inch of liquid in it and a little Q-tippy thing. The funny thing is, even with all that protection and they're a good 4 feet away from you and you're sitting in your car, you roll your window down just a crack, and I rolled mine down about 4 inches. No, roll it up. It's got to be 2 inches. Okay, don't want to spread the COVID. And I had a mask on in the car. And they hand you this bag and you take out the little swabby thing. First, they make you cough 5 times and you take the swab out, and for 20 seconds, and they time you. You have to sit there and swab the roof of your mouth, your tongue, your cheeks, all around. And then you take the swab and you put it in the little vial with the liquid. You screw it closed, you shake it up, you put it back in the Ziploc baggie. And as you're driving out of the big parking lot, you drop it into a thing that's kind of like a tall garbage container. And frankly, I dropped it in there thinking there's no way they're going to get through all those. And how was the heat affecting it? I mean, it was 108 degrees that day, if I remember correctly. So that's it. And yeah, in less than 2 hours, in less than 2 days, I got the results back and I'm negative. Yay. Not just emotionally negative, but COVIDly negative as well. Okay, what did I want to tell you? Cass, you just got asked to work in Vegas for 3 months, start with a 2-week quarantine in the hotel room. Oh, man. And what would you do with the goats? You can't bring goats to a hotel room. Yeah, you think the dropping mortality rate would be celebrated, but it's not. It's like they're trying to hide it. I, as my staff well knows, I have a real bone to pick with the media. I feel like we are totally controlled by the media. And it's not just fake news, it's the lack of news. There's so many things that they don't report. If you dig, you can find these things and you go, well, why isn't that on the front page of CNN.com or FoxNews.com or ABC.com or any? It's like, why is it buried? Why do they think that this story is not important enough? Not even buried, but not even there. I don't get it. Who controls the media? I don't know. Goats. Oh, you have a goat sitter. There you go. Oh man. No, I'm not talking politics. I am talking my lack of love for the media. I wanted to go back to the days of, when we had 3 channels of television. They were black and white, and you could turn on the news, and nobody was trying to sway you one way or the other. They were just telling you about stuff that happened. Giovanni Lanza, good to hear from you. Good to see you here. That's right, Cass, you better homeschool those goats. Give them a leg up. So yeah, as long as we're on the subject, then I want to get on to another subject. How are things where all of you guys live? Um, John Hemingway says I could walk across the road and get a blood immunity test right now, but I'd rather go for a beer. Well, they should have a 2-for-1 special that you can suck down a beer while they're taking your blood. Um, yeah, if it bleeds, it leads. It absolutely does. Yeah, crime is running rampant here. I mean, in major cities like Chicago, New York, the number of shootings. I just saw, I think it was yesterday, that the number of shootings has gone up in New York City metro area by 600%. Chicago, 130%. And they barely talk about this stuff. It's amazing, but they'll spend all day talking about whether or not kids are going back to school in the fall, which is obviously an important thing. I think most parents would love it if their kids could go back to school. I wonder what the long-term effect will be. They say that distance learning is not working out all that well for the kids, but our now 23-year-old daughter was homeschooled all the way 4 years of high school, and she came out okay. She's a rocket scientist. Let's see. Things are good in Vancouver. Open gigs are coming in. Very minor percent are wearing masks. That's interesting. Amanda says our numbers are rising again as we come out of lockdown. Deaths are still 0 for a few days. That'll rise again now as the number of infections is rising again above the R1 number. Can't have school if teachers get sick. Who will teach? I saw something today. Here's a great example of the media spinning stuff. One of my email accounts is an old AOL account, and I logged on to AOL this morning, and it says, teacher dies from coronavirus or COVID or whatever. And that was the headline. So, most people, you're logging on to go check your emails. I don't think that many people actually read the articles. They see the headline. And so, teacher dies from coronavirus. And I saw that as maybe I was looking at it politically or just my, lack of love for the media and thinking, well, they did that to try and convince people their kids shouldn't go back to school. Well, as it turns out, this teacher was one of 3 teachers teaching online. And the other 2 teachers got sick. So I'm guessing that they may have been in a room together or whatever. But there were no students involved. And it's not like she necessarily got the virus because she was teaching. She could have gotten the virus at a bar or at church or at a backyard barbecue or a protest or at a car wash or a 7-Eleven. Who knows where she got it? But the headline felt like they were trying to say, don't let your kids go back to school because they might get COVID. All headlines are misleading. Not on Taxi, damn it. Our headlines are 100% awesome. Total reported cases in the U.S. now equals about 1% of our total population. But John, there are way more infections than those that have been tested. It's nowhere near 1% in reality. Um, wow, singers in an ISO booth on stage. That's interesting. I heard in my car, while I was in line Saturday waiting for my COVID test, I actually heard, and I haven't verified this, but I did hear it on the radio that New York was locking some things down again. Although I think New York has been improving kind of dramatically, but they were locking some stuff down or stopping gatherings or something like that. And then, but Mayor de Blasio is still allowing protests, which just seems antithetical to me. Like, if people can't go to church or a basketball game or a concert or whatever, but you can go to a protest with 100,000 people, isn't that going to give you the same exposure, level of exposure? I don't get it. Um, Background singers have to do 20 feet distancing. Nice one, Cass. Oh, man, oh, man. Yeah, my wife went to the gym last night. She walked in and they said, okay, enjoy your time here because we're locking the doors tonight and God only knows when we're opening them back up. Um, if there's any company that has benefited from the virus, I would have to say it's Peloton. I know so many people that have gotten Pelotons, and those things aren't cheap, aren't they? Like $2,500 or something, and then you have to subscribe on a monthly basis. It's like here's the bike. It doesn't go anywhere, but here's the bike. That's $2,500, and if you want that sweaty person staring you in the face on a flat screen, that's another $20 a month or something. Brilliant business model, I gotta say. In our area, people on their phones while driving create more accidents and injury, but that doesn't get reported. Yeah, it's crazy. 2,200 base price. Wow. Peloton shares have rocketed. Peloton, it's a stationary bike, interactive stationary bike, Amanda, that it's got a screen bigger than a laptop screen, with a spin class instructor staring you in the face going, come on, you can do it. That's what we should do we are doing it right here, right now. I'm your spin class instructor. Instead of COVID news stories, I'd like to hear about AIDS, cancer, mental illness research. Yeah, there is no good news. Re-lockdown. The Canadian equivalent store of Home Depot is actually named Rona. They might want to go for a name change. Drummers should always wear masks anyway. Oh, man. Well, Ronald Schultz says, well, I hope everything works out so we can have the road rally. So that was my next topic of discussion. I have not made the official announcement yet, but after yesterday's announcement from the governor, they left it open-ended. And first of all, we're already at a place, at a state or condition red or whatever we're at, where we couldn't have had the road rally anyway because large gatherings are prohibited. And as of yesterday, they locked down churches, synagogues, mosques again. So I think the chances of us having a road rally in the flesh at the Westin this year are looking extremely grim. So actually, Ariana and I and another gentleman spent an hour on a Zoom meeting this morning, and we're looking at ways we can do. I've been thinking about this for weeks, obviously, because I couldn't just like, oh, let's see, gonna have to do a virtual road rally. Yeah, I know, Alex. Believe me, it's like part of me was like, "Ooh, maybe I won't have to do a road rally this year. It saves me a lot of 12 plus hour days and working weekends and all that kind of stuff." But, as it was becoming more and more apparent that the COVID was going to stick around longer than I wanted, Amanda, I'd love a virtual road rally. I could afford to go. Anyway, yeah, once it finally sunk in, I'm a little depressed about it all. I'm depressed about the media. I'm depressed about the road rally, and I've got a headache. So I'm having a crappy day. But I'm glad to see you guys. You're brightening up my day. So that's what I want to talk about. As I see it right now, the one thing I am certain of in a virtual road rally world. You know what? Let's go back to the physical road rally. Excuse me for a minute. I mean, things that we'd already planned for the physical road rally would be opening up the fourth section of the ballroom. That would give us about 13 or 1,400, the space for 13 or 1,400 people, and then we would have cut it down by half. So it would have been somewhere around 600 or 700 people in a very large ballroom. But then we had the issue of, okay, so we can get people seated further apart and everybody has to wear a mask. We even talked about doing temperature checks as you entered the ballroom or entered the road rally. But then the issue was that, normally, like at the start of the road rally, when we have our keynote, there are usually 1,000 people easily in that ballroom. So what about people who flew in from far away or drove an hour to get there, whatever? They're just as entitled to sit in that ballroom as anybody else. So if it's limited seating, then some people are going to feel cheated, and I couldn't blame them. Peter, ask me that question again in a few minutes. So that was a solution. It wasn't a great solution. We talked about closing off the lobby bar, but setting up 3 of those little, like portable bars that they have that they charge us, even though they're the ones selling the alcohol and making the money. They make me pay for the 2 guys to stand there and for a bar rental, if you can believe that. Anyway, we talked about taking that outdoor patio down at the end of Sponsor Row past the ballroom doors. And putting a bar out there and having one portable bar probably somewhere in the lobby area and then another one at the top of the escalator. So that was all doable, but then we couldn't do the eat and greet lunches because that's 300 people in a room that holds about 300 people. So we could have done them, but we would have had to knock them down to practically nobody, like maybe 100 people, maybe. The one-to-one mentors, we thought, okay, we could put them in different rooms and have them seated farther apart from the people that they're mentoring. That was kind of doable. But, the greatest thing about the road rally is the people you meet and the people you bump into in an elevator and the people you meet when you get to the top of the escalator and you're walking down to the second floor ballroom for the open mic at night or to going to one of the classes. Oh, and then there was the classroom situation. Somebody suggested that we limit the seating in the classrooms, but then open up auxiliary classrooms and run wires and 55-inch flat screens in the auxiliary room and have question monitors in there in the auxiliary room where people with questions would shout them out And the person in that room would text them to the teacher in the room next door. And who's going to police the doors and say, oh, I'm sorry, you can't go to that class because there are already 25 people in there? There were just so many things about it that weren't really going to work. We could do it. It would not be optimal. Um, anyway, so assuming that we are, and I haven't officially proclaimed this yet, so don't tell anybody. Keep it under your hats for a day. Um, Andre wanted to do shooters at the bar. There you go. I don't think we're allowed to say shooters in California anymore. You're liable to have a SWAT team show up. Ooh, that'd be a good name for a band, the Active Shooters. Could you imagine the chaos that would cause? Anyway, and then there was the other issue of a lot of people didn't want to fly in or come to a convention where people were flying in from all over the world. I mean, like 20 or 30 different countries, you know? And that to me is probably the biggest risk, and certainly understandable. You know, you have people coming in from Europe, people coming in from Asia, people coming in from Australia, all over the world, South America. Who knows, you know, what kind of little creepy crawlies they could be bringing into that hotel. It's a recipe for disaster on that level alone. Everything else was like, okay, we could slog through it, but that was the problem. Oh, and then the governor won't let us do it anyway. So that's a problem. Anyway, so going back to what a virtual road rally would be like. As I promised you a week or two ago on the Quarantini Happy Hour, we will do stuff that will be like what we do in the Grand Ballroom all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Every taxi member will get a pass. It's going to be private. It's not going to be open to the public. And you'll, as taxi members, you'll have access, excuse me, and you'll also get access for one guest. So just like the road rally. Amanda likes that private thing. Yep. And we'll archive the stuff so anybody who's got the private link can go watch the archive. But by virtue of the fact that we'll probably start broadcasting at like 9 a.m., where am I going to broadcast from? An empty ballroom? Probably right here. Possibly my desk at the office with some sort of road rally backdrop behind me. I don't know. Now's the time where I got to start figuring that stuff out. I'd like to do it out in the desert, but I'm not so sure that they're convinced that sunshine kills the virus anymore. Seems like it should. Anyway, so we will have panels that will go from like 9 to 6 every day, possibly an evening or two of the hangout stuff. We talked about virtual Zoom, virtual meeting places, a Zoom room. In this morning's meeting, we weren't sure, the gentleman we were on with wasn't sure if a Zoom room holds 100 or 200 people. Personally, I think that's going to be really clunky. But I guess if everybody gets liquored up at home, it might be a little bit like the rally bar. Andre says maybe that's why I have the headache trying to figure out the rally. You're right. If it's virtual, can we rent a local place for local taxi members to gather and watch? I need alcohol and friends. Yeah, you could. I mean, it kind of, you'd have to socially distance and be responsible. Oh, what did my lady friend choose for fictitious 80s metal band name? I don't know. Honestly, she was blown away by the fact that you guys all coughed up those names. She thought that was just incredible. And she told my wife, she said, some of these are really good. And she had one, she said, I've penciled one in, but I've got to sit down with these and absorb them for a while, and we haven't heard anything since. She had one penciled in of her own, that she'd written in prior to me supplying her with those. So hopefully one of ours will supplant the one of hers. Um, Alex Dillon says, members only. Yeah, well, it's always members only, and a guest. Yeah, the thought crossed my mind yesterday. Speaking of Rockstar drinks, I was in the office yesterday, and we always bring home about I don't know, quarter to a half a pallet of leftover Rockstars and keep them in the office. Some years we get good flavors, other years we don't. We're almost out of the good flavors. Every year, right around rally time, we're running low on the good flavors, and we do have a surplus of the less than good flavors. So I was thinking about that. It's like, wow, we might actually have to go out and buy a bunch of flats of rock stars or something to keep in the office because I guess we could tell the good folks at Pepsi that the road rally's happening and they should send us a pallet anyway. Have them deliver them to the office. Tequila shots cause latency. There are a couple of flavors of Rockstar that I personally don't like. Other people love them. Like they had one, I think that was called cotton candy. That I generally like sweet things, but the cotton candy flavor to me was just like so sweet. I mean, you felt like you were going to have diabetes before you finished the can. It was so sweet. Um, Isn't Gatorade better for hangovers? Well, I had a bottle of Gatorade and I done drank it. Um, Corona is killed by negative ions. There you go. Anyway, so here's what I want to talk about. We've only got 22 minutes left, if you can believe that. I want your suggestions for panels this year. Um, I I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do the listening panels that we do in the Grand Ballroom. I mean, one of the considerations is that we're looking at doing this using a hybrid of Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube, and it will be live on Facebook and YouTube, live to anybody that's got the right link to get in there. Um, so if I were to do a Zoom where I've got, let's say, four panelists, and I'm playing music that they would have to hear and then they would comment on, one of the things that we've encountered doing Zooms with our own staff is you've got to have some healthy bandwidth, and preferably be on Ethernet, not on Wi-Fi at home. Otherwise, it gets glitchy. It'll get super glitchy. I was talking to somebody yesterday that had like 2 megs up. It's the download speed is irrelevant. It's the upload speed that really matters. And shoving video up through a wire, it takes a lot of bandwidth, and you need minimally 6 megs up to work, and that's pushing it. Remember when I was doing the first day or two of Quarantini, it was a little glitchy. That's because, and I was doing it on Ethernet. I actually ran an Ethernet cable from our router upstairs, but it was 6 megs up, little somewhere between like 4.75 and 6.2 megs. Wasn't good enough, so I had to get it doubled. So now I'm running about 12 megs up, and it's been rock solid. You guys haven't had any glitchy days that I'm aware of. Um, Right, and if others, Brad Gray says, if other people are on your network, it'll affect it. Absolutely. So that's the thing is, I'm afraid that if I'm doing a panel of 4 people, and one of the panelists, has like, let's say 4 megs up, that's right on the cusp of workable, and they're on Wi-Fi, and their kid decides to play a video game upstairs, or even if they're watching TV and they're on a cable system that uses Ethernet, that's going to screw with their bandwidth, and they're going to be all glitchy, and then we're going to spend half of the panel going, sorry, couldn't hear you, Tom. You're glitching out, you know. So I'm leery about doing panels with multiple talking heads. And we did talk this morning about doing a testing protocol where we make sure. It's funny, the gentleman I was talking to about the testing protocol, you know, doing an actual panel test a couple of days before, make sure that everybody understands, like, they should have their camera up this high, and they should have decent lighting, and they should have a good internet connection, and make sure that their audio level is good, all those little things. And then I was watching something that this gentleman had worked on, and the person who was moderating it, it was one of those jobs where you see the ceiling. You know, they're working on a laptop, sitting on a table, not propped up on anything like mine is, and they've got the screen tilted up at their face with the camera in it, and you see the top of their head, and you see ceiling. You know, usually popcorn ceiling. In this case, it was like a drop ceiling in the guy's apartment, which I thought was kind of strange. Thought that was over with in the 70s. Yeah, reboot their home equipment 20 minutes before they start. Yep, these are all things like I reboot my computer every day before I do one of these shows. Yeah, there's a lot to know. The editor... Okay, so current hit songwriter panel. Okay, that's one. Panel subject, identifying one's personal branding. Personal branding. I'm going to try and get all these written down. And just so you know, I have to pick panels that appeal to a broad swath of people. So, you know, we talk about this internally. Do you think that because the staff knows, like, our membership makeup, our demographic, and the psychographic. So that's kind of stuff that we have to see if everybody be interested. Hold on, Brad Gray, what did you just say? Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. I've worked at a few ISPs. Good to know. Thank you. Time for some first-class production coordination. Yeah, as I said to the gentleman this morning, he was talking about, well, you can have, on-screen this and do that. And it's like, dude, I would, first and foremost, for me, it's all about the content for you guys. That's, I think, what makes the Road Rally so good, other than meeting people, is the fact that the content is what you really want to know, versus some other large-scale conferences where it's like, here's somebody famous. We're going to talk to them like, how many years did it take you to become famous? And or ask an A&R person, so what's your typical day like? Or how did you get started in the business? Nobody in the audience cares how an A&R guy got started in the business, because they don't want to be A&R guys. They want to be hit songwriters. Okay. I'm trying to get back. I got lost. ML, did that make sense? What did you say, Cass? I'm scrolling back up to find it. Oh, no. The editor didn't need any feedback when she showed her work. She could do an edit on a fictional show with only submitted tunes to a listing. No, she actually, but she was showing video. So we can't have a fictional show. We actually have to have, at least a long scene from a show. And then that adds extra tech to it, because now if we do the video editor, she has to have a camera on her and be able to also live stream the video of the show and the music choices. That one's a little complicated, Cass. It does make sense, and I've actually thought about it, but it sounds complicated. Um, I like the one where the music supervisor showed us how they did it real time on the screen. That's a problem. It could be a problem. We will, as I've got, what, 100 some odd days to get this worked out. Um, all that stuff has been and will be considered, and I would love to do it if the tech will allow us to do it reliably. What I don't want to do is have 3 days of, oh crap, that didn't work. Oh, I'm so sorry. Um, Billie Eilish's brother. Yeah, that editor was amazing. But we've already had her for the last 2 years. Richard says, I think you're right, ML. Keep it as simple as you can. Concentrate on the content. So, how can we reach out for ideas? You mean, how can you send us ideas? You can email them to taxitv@taxi.com. And try not to send 20 emails each. Try and put all your ideas in one email, okay? Um, have her every year. Believe me, she was one of my all-time favorites, if not maybe the most impactful panelist we've ever had. Make sure I take Wilson. One of the things that I've mentioned, something that I actually got the wheels turning on last year, it's again my own personal preference for old school stuff from my era, and the same era for many of you guys. Um, like 3 days before last year's road rally, when I went to Miami for that reunion, I was with the guys who co-produced all the big Bee Gees hits. They're old friends of mine, like really good friends, and we don't keep in touch all that often. One of them I talk to every few years. The other one I bump into because he lives here in LA, and I've bumped into him some. And those guys are definitely on board, so I could do a Ken Calais type thing with them, talking about working with the Bee Gees. If that's of any interest, I don't know. Personally, I think that those records were groundbreaking because they did stuff that nobody else had ever done before in his pre-sampler era. Also, the guy who produced Hootie and the Blowfish, REM, and John Mellencamp, and others is also a close friend of mine. And he lives like 15 minutes away from me here in LA. And he said, sure, man, whatever you need me for. Um, so does the Bee Gees thing appeal to anybody? Does the Hootie and the Blowfish, REM, John Mellencamp thing appeal to anybody? Again, these would be probably like a nighttime hang, kind of like the Ken Calais thing was. Yeah, just so you know, Darren, I'm talking about not making it a main focus. The Bee Gees thing or the other guy would be like, a human interest thing more so than an actual rally panel, if you will. Um, Greg Carosa, there's a BG fan. Michael, give me a smile when talking. There you go, Ariane. Put that one on there. Um, did you get a good shot? Oh man. Yeah, I like to do those old school things just because they're interesting, but it's not really teaching what the rally needs to teach, which is being contemporary. Um, there really is something. I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, I did a Bee Gees day on Taxi TV. Everybody was blown away at the craftsmanship that went into those records and how much of that approach really, they're great records in that they teach you that great sounding records are made with great sounding arrangements and really sparse parts. You can have a lot of parts, but they have to be really sparse and really thoughtfully laid in the tracks. It's not just how many instruments can we put in there, and the Bee Gees did that so incredibly well. The cool thing about my friends Carl and Albie is Carl was the engineering side of the production team, and Albie is like the musical side of the production team. So we could get both of those things. And we, of course, would have them dissecting the Bee Gees. How to act like a pro. Music Biz 101. Um, what makes a good producer? Maybe what I'll do is put all these things in a survey and send out a survey and see how we do on the votes. Darren Moss lays the gauntlet down. Ringo Starr and Joe Walsh, double act interview. Yeah, that would be easy. I've told you how many times I've come close with both of those guys. Um, Easy ways to promote your music during COVID lockdown, or effective ways, yeah, because there aren't any easy ways. Um, I'm not so sure that, who knows if we will actually still be locked down in November or if that information will be applicable then. Uh, how to build a fan base, promoting your music. Brad Gray, we actually did that panel last year. As a matter of fact, in the upcoming Taxi Transmitter newsletter, you will see the transcript of that panel called How to Get More Forwards and Deals, with 3 taxi members telling you how they've done it. And it was a really good panel. As a matter of fact, the woman who does the transcriptions transcribes like all these heavy duty like major rock star interviews for major magazines all the time, and she actually sent me back an email saying this panel was so informative. So there you go. We've done panels on collaboration, how to effectively read taxi listings. We've done all this stuff. I mean, I'll do it again if that's what everybody wants. See, the problem is I go to great lengths to put on these great panels in the ballroom. And I gotta say, it's a little upsetting when I walk out of the ballroom to run to the restroom and do my thing between panels, and I see 500 people in the bar area, and they just missed an amazing panel. But they've heard that you go to the bar, even though they're there at 11 o'clock in the morning. You go to the bar, you meet somebody, and your career is going to explode. And so they miss this stuff in the ballroom, and then they ask for it. Well, why don't you do that? Well, I did it last year. Were you in the room? Oh no, I missed it. Urgh. There are new members who haven't been there before, and that's the juggling act. That is the balancing act, is delivering content for people who are just starting out, people who are midway down the road, and people who are experienced members that are already finding some level, if not a lot, of success. I have to make all three of those people happy, and new members versus members that have been to 20 road rallies. I can't keep putting on the same stuff every year and upset the people who go to many, many road rallies, but I can't leave stuff out that people who've never been to one want to see. So trust me, I know I make it look really easy putting on that road rally. It's not. Metadata, we've done that. Um, will Bobby Borg be there on marketing? Probably. Yeah, there's some, there's a core of people I can't find better people. So I will bring people back time and time again because they're so incredibly good on these panels. Bobby Borg is one of those people. Um, the woman who talked about music law, she was amazing. That would be Erin Jacobson. Yep, she's been at like the last four road rallies. Um, Interviews with Brian Wilson, Randy Newman, or Ed Sheeran's producers, whoever they are. Gee, are those your three favorite acts? Right, just because you've done it before doesn't mean I shouldn't do it again. No, I'm not opposed to doing it again. I do try to not repeat the same thing 2 years in a row. At some point, if I'm just doing the same road rally every year, why would people keep coming back? Ronan will probably be part of it. Fett will probably be a part of it. A Kingpin mixer. I've had Rob Shirelli at several of these things, many of these things, probably 15 or 20 of them. Um, uh, Producer interviews are not worth it if you want to learn how to get placements. Well, that's another issue that I have to face every year. Is probably 60 to 70% of our audience is interested in film and TV stuff with a slant towards instrumental, and somewhere around 20% of our audience is interested in pitching songs at major label artists, and maybe 10% of the audience are acts that would like to get picked up as an act. Um, Yes, we are going to have. Here's something. I'm glad you brought that up, Brad. We are going to have virtual vendors, just like we have sponsor row outside the ballroom at the rally. This year, we're going to have sponsors that will sponsor the online panels. And we will probably have, you're going to love this, a commercial or two during the panel for those sponsors. And then between the panels, while we're getting the tech ready for the next panel, we're going to have probably sell some slots for the sponsors to do sponsor presentations that will be pre-recorded videos of them demoing their latest, greatest, or about to come out soon gear. And so we'll wrap up a panel, we'll hit play, and you'll watch that. And then after that, the next panel will start. The Highfields, yes. I'm telling you, what's ironic is virtually all these people you're talking about, I have on these shows all the time. Those of you who show up every day for this stuff have heard so much from these people. Yep, missing Ralph Murphy. I told you guys that I played. I've still got my last voicemail from Ralph that he left me a couple days before his last trip to our house a couple of years ago, which was just weeks before he passed away. I will never take that off my phone. Yes, we will. As a matter of fact, Brad Gray says that's a good thing, especially when they entice us with their discounts. Yeah, not only will they entice you with discounts, but I will insist that we get some product from them to give away. We'll do some drawings and stuff like that. Um, Understanding PRO statements, how writers share and publishers share work. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock already. Um, Understanding how PRO statements work. I won't tell you which one of the PROs this person was from, um, but we had the vice president of film and TV for one of the big PROs that was supposed to do a thing at the rally. She was supposed to be on a panel to discuss that very topic. And she got to the road rally and she walked in the ballroom and came to the side of the stage and she turned white. When she turned around and looked at the size of the audience, she turned white. And I said, are you okay? Do you need a glass of water or something? She said, I can't do it. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I've got stage fright. I can't do it. And I said, well, you're going to be one of 5 people on the panel. I'll go to you with questions that you could answer in your sleep with a gag in your mouth and your hands tied behind your back. This is going to be so easy. You'll actually have fun. I can't do it. And she just walked out. That was it. She just left. Literally turned around and walked out of the ballroom. This is the last time I ever heard from her. Okay. Learning to read a contract with a library, knowing if it's okay. Amanda, we did that. That's I actually, you know what? I'm sorry. The transcript coming up in the newsletter is the one where I've got Aaron Jacobson, the lawyer, and I believe 2 music library owners and a musician, a successful taxi member. All of them talking about music library contracts. Many of us would like taxi swag and shirts. We talked about that in the meeting today. I will make a promise to you right now that we will make shirts available. Top earning taxi media composers presenting their top 10 golden time tested shortcuts to success. We do that practically every year. We did it last year with, I can't remember who, but we do it almost every year. When do you think the virtual rally will take place? The dates that the rally was supposed to take place, which I believe are November 6, 7, and 8. The good news is you won't have to stand in the registration line for hours. Business etiquette, how to interact with libraries. I'll put it down. I don't mean to sound negative, but every one of these things I think we've done in multiple times. Etiquette 101. Breakdown a song arrangement for contemporary sound and style. Robin Frederick has done that a number of times. Do I know the percentage of rally attendees that are newbies? Are you talking newbies as in they've never been to a rally before, or newbies as they just joined taxi? If it's about 40% of the people that are in the audience, 40 to 50% have never been to a rally before. And I would say probably 10 to 20% are new to taxi. Registration line simulator. Yeah, the virtual road rally is getting kind of real. It is. Newbies as an industry and learning. Yeah, I would say 10 to 20% are pretty new. Yeah, we're having a happy hour tomorrow. I'm going to go a couple more minutes, going a little long in the show today because this is good feedback. Um, See, that's exactly, Trev makes the case. I haven't been to a rally before, so all the presentations you've done before will be new to me. So that's the juggling act that I've got to do, is balancing the programming that we put forth to you guys, making something that has appeal to a wide swath of people, some new, some semi-experienced or moderately experienced, some very experienced, some that have been to many rallies, some that have been to no rallies, some that are kind of new to the industry, period. It's tough. It's way harder than you might think. And again, it's because I make it look so easy. I've had a lot of practice. Don't cancel your hotel reservations yet. I just sent my official notice to the hotel saying, hey, if the governor won't let us have a road rally, and the contract says any government regulation or act of God, which I think COVID and the governor qualified to get us out of that contract. What can they do? Make me show up for a rally that we can't have? Um, Interviews with music soups and editors are always wonderful. Yeah, frankly, I've got an editor that is willing to do either a Quarantini or a regular Monday Taxi TV with me. I'm now thinking maybe I'll keep him in my stash. You guys are privileged. I mean that in a nice way. That you're such loyal viewers of the Quarantini Happy Hour and Taxi TVs that you guys have gotten so much of the knowledge that we put out there at the rally anyway. But I never feel bad because when you guys come to the rally that have already heard a lot of this stuff, you get the benefit of meeting collaborators, meeting people from the industry, and there's always something more to learn. Right, that's right. We can't have a road rally, but the governor's winery is still open. That is true, Paul. I'm surprised you know that living outside of California, but it's absolutely true. Well, we have mentors at the virtual rally. It's a topic of discussion. Again, we could do it. We could do one-to-one Zooms and make that available for people. But then, what if we've got 20 mentors? Normally we have, I think, 30 to 50 different mentors that we use. If we had 20 mentors, then what do we do about all those mentors? Do we set them all up with free Zoom accounts? Well, that's doable. And what happens if there's a glitch with the Zoom that the person they're talking to? Now that person's going to want to complain to somebody, hey, I signed up for a mentor at 2 o'clock and his Zoom wasn't working. So the possibility of it being a train wreck. Current songwriters and producers, I'm going to address Darren's question because he's posted a repost. Current hit songwriters and producers help everyone, even film and TV, and they haven't been done before because they are current people who weren't around in years gone by. Now, we've had some current, certainly had current producers and such up there. I personally don't believe that they are all that helpful for the film and TV side of things. The reason being, they don't know beans about the film and TV side of the industry. They're talking hit record level budgets and timelines and available talent. They're not working at home off a laptop like you guys are. So it's really doesn't equate all that well. There's always something you can learn, but it's not as good as you might think, Darren. Um, Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your appreciation. Um, will there be a virtual open mic? We talked about that this morning as well. It's a possibility. Yeah, you signed up for a free mentor at a free rally. Deal with it if we have tech problems. Sounds good in theory, Polly. I agree with you, but people go ballistic. There some people just show up with such a sense of entitlement, even though I mean it is all free. But I get it from their perspective. Hey, I traveled all the way here from Canada and my mentor didn't show up. We always have one or two mentors that get sick or forget or their kid's sick or whatever, and they can't make it. And we've got people that we substitute in. And we know that's going to happen every year. But man, when it does, some people just go freaking crazy. Song critique panel. We do those every year. Every year. We hope to be able to do those virtually. I don't know. I'd say it's a 70% chance. I'm laughing, Michael. Snowflakes will be snowflakes. There will always be haters. Everybody doesn't get a trophy in the real world. Yeah, you know what the problem is? Is that people that get bummed out then go online and tell everybody taxi sucks because it sucked for them for that one 15-minute slot that didn't happen for them. Um, Does it have to be in November? Can you push it to January or February? You mean so that COVID might be over? That's a whole other issue. We did look at that, honestly, and even looked about pushing it till springtime. But there's a whole, how can I explain that? Availability of hotel, the rates that you can get stuff at, airline rates. November is actually a pretty cheap month to fly if you fly before the Thanksgiving rush. So all these things went into the decision to hold the road rally in November. When it was starting to look like we might not be able to have a road rally in November, I actually talked to the hotel extensively about other possible dates. The problem is now we just don't know. We could reschedule, push the whole thing back to, January, February of 2021, and we could still be in a situation where they're not letting us have a large-scale gathering. And then there's the issue of we've already contracted for November of 2021. So I'm not doing 2 road rallies in the same calendar year. No. I will tell you that right now. Yeah, there is the budgetary concern. That's true. All right. Anyway, I should wrap this up. Thank you all. You know what? Are you guys okay with continuing this discussion tomorrow? Because there's good stuff coming out of here. So think about it tonight. Write down your thoughts tonight. Can't wait for the anti-moron vaccine. Oh, man, I would invest in that stock. Oh, man, self-assessing one's work. Checklist before submitting. I like that idea. The checklist. That's a great suggestion, Nancy. I like that one. You're welcome, you guys. All right, so same time, same place tomorrow, and we'll pick it up on the same topic unless, excuse me, 2 really big things are happening at the Lasco household right now. Number one is I've been growing tomatoes for the last month. And one of my tomatoes looks like it's ready to be picked. So tomorrow you guys will get to see my tomato, fresh from Lasco Family Farms, as we affectionately call it. And the other information is I still have one pesky gopher that evades the traps. I have not been able to nail this gopher. So I'm about ready to go buy a gallon of gasoline, pour it down the hole, and stick a match in there because this guy's really pissing me off. Anyway, thank you guys. Great to see you. Great hanging out with you. Great suggestions. And we will see you tomorrow right here, same time, same station, for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Bye-bye, you guys. Woo-hoo!